Hello, in this lesson we are going to cover what SegWit2x is. In a previous lesson I briefly mentioned it, and I also mentioned that it stands for segregated witness, and it ultimately comes down to scaling. But let's learn the ins and outs of SegWit. So let's just talk about some of the history of it. So it was proposed as an upgrade to the core foundation of Bitcoin to help it scale. So it was proposed to help it scale, and it helped it scale in two main ways. So the upgrade, or the features of the upgrade, were two parts really. So one was code optimization. So we have code optimization, which alters how some data is stored to the network. The next part that it actually helps is it increases the block size, and the increase is from 1 megabyte to 2 megabyte, and this would also enforce a timeline of about 3 months for this to be done. So that's all well and good. Code optimization increases the block size, which allows for more transactions. So let's learn about what drives the desire to implement segregated witness or something else similar to it, and also what doesn't drive people to want something like this implemented. So let me change colors. So do's and don'ts, essentially. So do's and don'ts. So first of all, Bitcoin is limited to the number of transactions it can process. So as the network gets larger, more users come on, more transactions are occurring. This obviously can become an issue. And as of July 2017, roughly 1 megabyte of transactions were occurring every minute. So this is obviously an issue, because if 1 megabyte of transactions are occurring every minute and the block size is a megabyte, we really do need to increase the block size to help make the network scale. So due to this limit, transactions take longer to approve, which obviously is bad because you want fast approval rates, and that will ultimately get more users on there and make the network better than alternatives. And this is during times of heavy use, and a user doesn't want to have to wait just because there's a bit more traffic going on, let's say at a certain time of the day, a certain time of the week. They just want to know that you'll get there and you'll be fast. So users don't care about this. So they're not going to be understanding. So the limitation of space increases the average fee cost, and if the average fee cost is higher, then users are less likely to want to use the service. Obviously, I've covered in a separate video that you can actually have zero fees, but obviously having some or paying some sort of fee does have its advantages, like more than likely getting your transaction approved quicker. But there are disadvantages, and here's one. An increase in block size makes network nodes more costly. So increasing the block size does actually make each node more expensive. It's more costly. So as node operators must store the entire, so this is basically due to this. So it's due to the fact that node operators must store the entire copy of the blockchain as computer files. So there are advantages to something like segregated witness, and there are disadvantages. So this is sort of like the history of why somebody would want to implement something like segregated witness. From here on out, I'm just going to call it SegWit2x. So let's cover the basics behind this now. We've sort of covered the history and now the basics. So the basics. So the basics are SegWit2x isn't actually the first proposal to aid in scaling, because users and developers have seen this issue for a while. But one of the most controversial aspects around this is it was not suggested or endorsed by the Bitcoin core team, which is the main developer team. So they're the ones that have sort of a big say in it, and a lot of people go by what they say. So because it wasn't endorsed or suggested by them, there's a lot of controversy around it. It's not much of an evolution, but a combo of existing ideas. So what are those ideas? Fundamentally, there is SegWit, not segwit2x, SegWit, which has helped form segwit2x. And SegWit was officially proposed. So this was officially proposed by a Bitcoin core developer called Peter Woyl, I think that's how you pronounce his name. And this was basically to increase the volume of transactions that fit into each block without actually increasing the block size. So transaction volume goes up without actually increasing the block size. So that's actually quite a cool thing. The other thing that is essentially part of this is block size increases. So combination of SegWit and block size increases would allow for significantly more transactions. So a block size increase simply increases the block size. Alternatives such as Bitcoin XT, so let me just write this down, Bitcoin XT and Bitcoin Unlimited have come from this, but none of them have received the same level of support from the community to help them grow. That's hence why you generally don't hear about them. So, have any of these things been implemented? Well, yes, they have. SegWit was actually released in November 2016, but is optional. So it doesn't enforce it on all of the users and all of the different mining pools. So it's optional and requires mining pools to activate it. And what about SegWit2x? Well, SegWit2x has been deployed since then. Actually, I received an email, I think yesterday or the day before, from one of the exchanges that I have Bitcoin with, saying that they was talking more about SegWit2x, and they were just saying the coins will be going over to the new Bitcoin 2x, I think they're calling it, which is Bitcoin with SegWit2x. So, is everyone in support of this? Well, no, not everyone is in support of SegWit2x. So let's discuss some of the advocates and some of the people opposed to it. So the supporters, they are as follows. They are most of the networks, large mining pools. So most of the large mining pools are in favor of this. A lot of Bitcoin startups, because ultimately it helps their lives, because they've got plenty to deal with just from a business perspective, forgetting about the actual technology of Bitcoin, so it helps them. And some big developers have also advocated, such as Gavin Andreessen, which is he is a former Bitcoin core developer, so he's quite a major developer. So what about the opposers? So who is opposing it? There are some larger businesses that are opposing it. There are many node operators and Bitcoin users that are opposing it, and most of the core developers responsible for maintaining the software are also opposing it. So ultimately, there is a lot at stake because some solution is required for the platform to scale and to be able to handle more transactions very fast. And this issue won't just go away now. There will be issues like this in the next few months, in the next year, even in the next decade, because ultimately scaling is always a big issue for businesses, for any sort of platform, and a platform such as this that is effectively trying to replace the current banking system that has had thousands of years to evolve into what it is, it's going to be difficult. So these issues do need to be talked about and do need to be ironed out, whether it's SegWit2x or some other alternative. So that's it for covering what SegWit2x is. I know we covered quite a lot in this lesson, so if you have any questions, feel free to reach out or go through the video again to check out the different topics we covered. And as usual, thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in my next lesson.